Want to welcome you to another episode of Mindset Growth Podcast. I'm Gary Bontrager, your host. I have Heather with me here, my co-host.
Good morning.
It is a good morning. The weather is almost perfect. If we could just lock this in, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
But it's probably why we need to go to Florida in the winter. Get their nice weather. Been a busy summer. A lot of things going on.
You've been really busy.
I have been. I've picked up a new hobby and started it several years ago, but finally this summer is the first I get to experience it in its fullest capacity.
Yep.
And so it's made us very busy, but it just seems summers went that way too. And I know you've had a lot of sports and things in your life too, so it just makes life interesting and busy.
Yeah. So you've been on the fair trail.
I have been. We've been headed to a lot of county fairs. I have, for the audience who doesn't know, built a tractor pulling tractor. So I've done the ultimate redneck experience. And it really has taken me back to my roots when I was a child. My father started me on this path of enjoying that type of sport, and we were farm kids. And it's evolved tremendously since then, but it's something that my brother, just older than I, have talked about for years. And fortunately, life has taken me to a place that I can now do this and experience the fun of it.
Yep.
And being the one in the driver's seat. So
you've had a lot of success so far.
I have.
First year.
It's a bit maybe unwarranted. Because you feel like you always need to earn your place wherever you're at and whatever sport you're in. But it's been also an accumulation, a lot of hard work, a lot of taking notes and paying attention, and it all coming together.
But earning your place doesn't always mean starting at the bottom and working your way up.
That's right.
If you have talent, if you've got a drive to do something, that's in anything.
It is. And there's a lot of what you just said there. There's a lot of life lessons in that. And one thing that I have noticed and experienced is that preparation is the key to any success. Interesting enough, growing up extremely poor in the 80s, if anybody knows anything about ag economy, I never dreamt this experience would happen. But when I started down this road, my son and I started to put names together for the tractor, and one of them that we just kept coming back to was breaking barriers.
Okay.
And it fits well a lot with what the podcast is, the mindset growth, just with the changing, you change your mind, you change your direction, you change your results. If you change your mind, the barriers I seen as a child, I could overcome, and now I can experience this fun. The fun part was, though, that I had a Sunday night, was in our hometown in Iowa City, Iowa.
Okay.
And we were at the county fair, and Mindset Growth Podcast had put an extra $500 on the winner of the class that I'm in. And we were able to take the money back home. So
that's a great feeling.
It was a great feeling. And it was also very interesting to see the local community come out and rally around and support us.
How did the other racers feel about that? Like, okay, you're
pullers, called them pullers.
How did the other pullers feel about that? Did they say, all right, Bontrager's coming in here and he's putting money down on himself, basically? Or did they say, okay, we got a chance to take home some extra cash?
That is a great question. Humility will win every time. And I put a tremendous amount of effort in being humble as I go through this process. Because I hear comments that people make, well, don't get cocky or don't be arrogant. I mean, they'll just, some of them walk up and tell me that know me.
Yeah.
Because of the success that I've been having. And
in polling.
Yes. And the thing that, these are just good life lessons to talk about. The thing that I've tried to do very much so is understand that success can come and go really quickly in life. And it's a matter of how we adjust. That it came so quickly and that I adapted to the driving so quickly is probably a bit unusual. But I also feel extremely grateful to all the people that have helped me and I try to help others as much as I can, which I don't have a lot to offer in the short time I've been there. But it really seems like everybody's been very happy for my success, and I appreciate that tremendously. So I don't know if that answers the question, but they probably were joking more that yes, I was.
Okay.
But I'm not the first to do that. Others have done that in their hometown as well.
Sure.
My motive more than that was to make sure that there's an incentive there for my competitors to come in so that we put on a good show for the home crowd. That's really what my motive was behind it. It wasn't so much that, yes, I wanted to win and take the money back home, because it's really difficult to do that in front of your home crowd. But it was more to put on a good show for the local community and attract a full field of pullers coming in which we were able to do. So,
okay, that's what I was going to ask. Was it full? Was
yes,
it
we had a really good
sized one?
We really had a good class of pullers there and had a great experience. It was a great night. And so that was the ultimate goal that we were trying to accomplish, was that. But we were able to win in our hometown.
That's a good feeling.
It was a lot of fun. So
family? Do you have
I did. Had a lot of family there, and even distant relatives there, and just community people that I've crossed paths with, people I've not interacted much with showed up for a number of years, and people I know but don't ever really interact with. So it was fun. It seemed from all the social media comments, hopefully we made the local community, proud and representing them. One thing that I'm going to transition just a bit out of that, because today's episode is going to be a little different than what a lot of them are. And often I have people ask me about myself, where I come from, things I experienced, what put me on a path to be where I'm at today, and to, in the coaching business, coach people with the podcast, do the things we do, and why we have the name and the things that we have. We're going to break this down into some different segments, but I often, when I do public speaking, we talk about certain things that I've experienced that relate to the lesson I'm maybe trying to teach at that point in time. But just for foundational purposes, this is a story I don't think people know very often. I even have relatives that I'll visit with, and they'll start to ask me, what has driven you and what has motivated you to do what you're doing today? How did that happen? So a couple of the things that we just talked about, that was a fun hobby, a summer Midwestern hobby, but it also gets into the coastal East Coast a lot, and southern states. One of the things with the name of the tractor just being Breaking Barriers is the fact of what I had to overcome as a mindset as a child. So this, but as an audience, you can probably understand there's little that I do that's not intentional. Most of everything I do at this point in my life, there is a motive and a pure intention behind it to achieve and accomplish and better and help somebody out, and also set markers that are going to push and drive me to be better and just a better human and to serve others better. So with that is how we ended up with that name. But to go all the way back now to my childhood, that name, Breaking Barriers, came from the fact I never dreamt I could break that barrier of just even having a pulling tractor, much less have success and do the things I'm doing.
Well, in the community that you grew up in, was that even something that you knew about?
That's a great question. It was. My father got me into this, and we lost him 39 years ago. So it's just been that itch that for years I didn't really follow it. But as my kids were out of school and the activities slowed down, I had time. So he did take me to tractor pulls as a child, which is what instilled the love of tractor pulling in me.
Okay.
And he loved it so much. And so probably seeing his passion and his desire to do it, but not be in a position to do it, because financially it just wasn't going to work, is probably one of the motivating factors for me in that. So it was something that was around back then. Of course, it's evolved a lot.
Right. I mean, I was aware that it was around. It's been around for a long time, but more so the community that you grew up in. I
Yes.
didn't know if.
So I can drop some names, but I'll refrain. Kelowna is the small local town I was in, which is south of Iowa City, was our address. And we had a local gentleman owned an implement dealership that was really big into tractor pulling. And so he put on a big event in that small town every year and created a lot of buzz in the community. And I know that drove my love for it as well. I'm friends with his sons, golf with them sometimes. And that really established a lot of, I would say, interest in the community. There were a lot of people that then started to pull in lower levels and not do, like the national level like he did. But it really, I was probably fortunate because none of the towns around us would have had near that activity that we had. But that was a huge event every year. So I was exposed to it more in that regard. And then for some reasons I couldn't attend for a few years, just, church reasons and things. I wasn't allowed to.
That was more kind of what I was getting at when I asked about community.
So yes, growing up as I did, there was a period of time that our church did not want us to go to tractor pulls. So we had to get a bit creative, maybe go play tennis and end up at the tractor pull. But there was years like that. And I think that also just burned the desire in to want to do it even more. Yeah. So
separately, I'm Gage.
And I'm Bontrager.
Together, we are Gage Bontrager Consulting.
We work on changing your mindset,
developing leaders,
building systems and processes,
helping you grow personally and professionally
to achieve the success that you want personally and professionally.
However you choose to define success for you.
Reach out to us and follow us on social media or look us up on the website, and that will put you on a path to achieve what is missing in your life.
Thanks for watching this episode of Mindset Growth Podcast.
Shifting a little bit though, back to when I was young, I grew up in a very, to me, everything was normal. I didn't understand anything was different. With 4 older siblings, and then I didn't have any for another 4 years. And in that time frame, when I was about 2.5 years old, I developed a health condition where I stopped growing. And I would, eat a lot, but I just didn't grow. I got to where my legs were bowing, my chest was caving in. I was becoming very weak. And they were taking me to medical doctors, specialists. Of course, this was back in the mid 70s, early 70s. So there was not the technology we have today. And as this continued, by the time I'm 3.5, I'm wearing the Forrest Gump braces. I hated them because I couldn't run in them. That movie probably had some significance to me that it didn't, because I could literally, seeing him run and them fall off, I could feel that, I didn't do that, but I would just almost refuse. I would take them off. I'd try to hide them. I hated them as a child, and I don't remember a lot of it. I just remember how uncomfortable they were. The diagnosis finally that really pushed. And my dad was adamant at finding a cure, and not just, this is what they're advising and we're going to take it. He was very adamant about that. And the final recommendation that pushed him to even look further for other things was that the medical doctors at the University of Iowa were just saying, we're going to need to break his legs to straighten them. And that will help him walk. But by the time he's a teenager, he'll be in a wheelchair. Wow. And he'll never walk as an adult. So with that experience, to me still, nothing was different. I was still young enough. I didn't comprehend that would make my life different than everyone else's. I just knew that I got a lot of attention. And because of that, my older siblings and my parents coddled me a lot. And I probably became I certainly became as soft as I've ever been in my life, which created a shift when things in life changed later, because I didn't get that at some point I had younger siblings and things changed and I became the middle child, then that was a whole different game. For those of you who study child orders, family orders, and where you're born into the family, it can be quite a shift. So through all this, my parents finally found a doctor and found that I had a pinched nerve at the base of my neck at my skull, and it was causing my pituitary gland not to work, which is the gland that takes all the nutrients out of your food. And as soon as this cranial doctor fixed that condition, I started to grow and my legs stopped bowing. They straightened up a little bit.
Okay.
And, but even as a teenager, I was a really scrawny kid. And when I would do physical activities, my chest would get tight and hurt. I felt like I was starving for lung capacity. I don't know if it was because my chest was caved in or because it was, over the years, some of those things have started to they've formed a little better, kind of taken their correct form, more so, but I can still see it. But through that period of time mentally, I just was coddled tremendously. I got to do things other kids didn't get to do. I just got a lot of attention because of my sickness. Everybody felt sorry for me. It's no different than what any parent or any person would do today, I'm sure, because they wish the best for that child. But as I came out of that experience, there's a couple of lessons I learn now looking back. I think often we take what somebody says, and that's just how it is. We take it as a reality. But what I've learned is that's not our reality. We can change that. And we can fight it, and we can look for more answers and find alternatives. So that was a good lesson that my parents taught me, was don't give up. You just keep pushing and you can find better results. So as that transitioned, of course, then I had younger siblings and the attention was off of me. I had a set of twins, my youngest brother and sister, and that's a lot more fun than a middle child. So that all transitions. And I just share that because I want people listening, if you feel like there's times in your childhood that you maybe were overlooked, it may seem like that. I don't believe for a second that my parents or anybody was trying to overlook me. It was just a situation I was in. Mm-hmm. So it kind of started to take me from this really soft kid to have to toughen up and fight for my own and fight for what I wanted, because I became a middle child and the attention was now completely off of me, and quickly forgotten what I had experienced and gone through. It's just interesting now at this age to look back and see the mental and emotional roller coaster that I did not see. And I sometimes feel like because of that health condition, I almost started in the basement rather than on ground level in building stamina and endurance in life, because I was coddled so much because of that situation.
Well, that's got to be quite a transition also, going from feeling like you're being coddled to feeling like you're being ignored. Like there's no steps in between there.
No,
that's
there really
be quite
aren't.
a
It
shift.
happened pretty quickly, because about the time I was recovering from that health condition, I had 3 more siblings in 2 years.
And that would almost create an abandonment mentality.
It probably did, and I think that's a great observation, Heather. I never thought about it that way really before, but that's probably what I felt. Mm-hmm. And it just continued. Things started to stack on that, on that abandonment feeling. And it's, again, I'm not pointing fingers. It's just, that's what life dealt me. I'm very grateful for it today, but transitioning on past that time, I start school. And again, I don't try very hard in school because I've never had to try before in life. Everybody took care of it. And by 3rd grade, I'm struggling because I'm behind, because I don't need to work very hard. Somebody will do it. And I've had that going on. By 4th grade, I'm really struggling to where I'm at the brink of failing a grade. And I have a teacher who I had the awesome opportunity of meeting and spending some time with last week, because she was traveling through the area and she looked me up and I had also managed to track her down, and she felt like she had failed as a teacher with me. I had learned through other people later in life. So I had tracked her down. She lives in another country now, but I sent her my book here, The 12 Steps to Achieving Your Maximum Potential, and just thanking her for the influence she had in my life. Again, she taught me a lot of things that she wouldn't do again because she felt they were failures. To the point of, at one point, we had an open classroom, small country school, 3 classes in that classroom. And, she cut the top and the bottom out of an appliance box, put me in it in the middle of the classroom, which was extremely humiliating. Trying to figure out a way to keep my ADD in check and not, look at every shiny object and to focus and get my work done. But it kind of had a negative effect on that. So it was just another step of that abandonment that I felt because it was like, now I'm different yet than the other kids. And so those are stages that really are foundational for me. So we've talked about, I know when we opened, we talked a little bit about my latest hobby and the fun and the success I'm having. But I think as we go through this podcast, I hope people understand that it doesn't matter where you're at. You and you only can change the direction of where you're going. The barriers and the boundaries that you set are the ones you set for yourself. Your mindset can shift and it will change your direction and it'll change where you're going to go and the outcome of where you're at. Life isn't fair. It never is. People will never treat us the way we feel we deserve to be treated. Any of you who are parents can clearly understand that. It's to me, it's just I hope that my story inspires somebody else, no matter where you're at. If you're considered the mental or the physically sick, I was considered the slow kid. Not mental, but I always felt like I was maybe a little bit mentally slow because of my ADD, and it was so misunderstood at that point in time. And then just the box that you get created to put in.
Yeah.
So any thoughts on that?
I feel like not only was there abandonment, but there was also rejection. And the breaking barriers comes from that.
Right.
There had to be a massive shift to come from that background, that experience, to completely taking control.
Right. To recap, to come back to, you bring up breaking barriers, which is the name of my pulling tractor. This is the difference of a 5-year-old version of myself to the 54-year-old version. Because now I know that the only barrier I have is the one I set for myself. And I understand I'm having a lot of success, and it's so humbling to experience that. But this is now almost a 3-year project of me going to tractor pulls, watching the footwork, watching the throttle work, watching them in the pits, them not knowing who I am, but taking details, notebook full of notes, making tons of contacts, asking questions, then narrowing it down to who I choose to work with, who I choose to get advice from and parts from. It's an accumulation of about 3 years to experience this. And a lot of it comes back to my ability to drive, but there's also some things I did in the past, race motocross and things like that, that I'd never thought would translate to this, but it actually is helping me. Because it's helped me with the foot and the hand control, which is totally interesting, but it's how much difference that has made for me. But I just challenge everyone out there. This is my challenge. I give too often, but if I leave you this one, you can accomplish anything you want. Just need to put in the work, focus on what it is, and surround yourself with the right people. The people you surround yourself with will make entirely the total difference on where your direction in life is going to be. You don't need to be doing what I do. You can do whatever it is that you choose, but it is all about the people you surround yourself with and how articulate you become in taking notes and putting effort into the details. And that's what's going to make the difference in the direction of your life and your success.